6 years ago, I lost 20 pounds of stubborn fat, and my weight loss transformation went somewhat viral because my approach was not traditional. I did less cardio, less weightlifting. I was less strict with my dieting, all of which goes against what you're led to believe by the fitness industry. Flash forward to now, I have had a baby. I have more or less maintained my physique, all without calorie counting or intentional dieting. And since then, I've gained a lot of perspective, not just because I've had a baby, but through observing Jeff's weight loss journey, where he has struggled with completely different things from me. So today we're gonna have an honest talk about weight loss, not just the nuts and bolts of calorie deficit. We've all heard that before. What makes the calorie deficit doable? What mental and lifestyle changes do you need to make in order to weight maintain? Real quick, there are two types of people when it comes to weight loss: those who eat their vegetables and those who do not.
Where are you staring at me?
One change that Jeff made on his weight loss journey was bringing AG1 into, I think it started actually as part of your nighttime routine. Jeff is a big sneaky snack, nighttime snacking boy. So you, rather than getting rid of the habit and trying to just like discipline his way through, okay, I want something at night, like let's just stop doing that. You swapped the soda for AG1, which obviously they're not the same, but you were ready to make a change. What you started noticing though was that
I'd poo.
like you became very regular, but it's not always convenient to be very regular at night. So you Jeff is going to recommend, in his professional opinion, having it in the morning. Start your day with a win. Start your day with a good, productive bathroom break. It's been great for his gut health. It does have a combination of prebiotics and probiotics. But I feel like when you did make that shift to having it in the morning, it was good not only for that reason, but I mean, also going back to the habit loop, like
Sets you up for success.
it sets you up for success. You're starting the day on the right foot, and the barrier to entry, I mean, it's so easy. You literally mix the AG1 with water and then you're done. Like that's a very easy win. It's easy enough that you can do that every single day. You can do it consistently and start building momentum, which did carry over into your eating. So a huge thank you to AG1 for sponsoring this video. They have done an offer for our community where when you sign up, you can get a special limited edition bonus gift when you first subscribe, in addition to your welcome kit. So if you want to check that out, I will put all of the info, everything you need to know, as well as a link in the description box down below. Starting with some stats, in a meta-analysis of 29 long-term weight loss studies, more than half the lost weight was regained within 2 years, and by 5 years, more than 80% of lost weight was regained, which is not exactly encouraging. We're going to get into my weight loss story as well as Jeff's weight loss story later in today's video. But in order to understand weight loss, you first have to understand your metabolism and calorie deficit, the term that you have probably seen by some point now if you spend any amount of time in the fitness space. So I'm going to put the energy balance equation on screen. This describes the relationship between the calories coming into your body and the calories being burned by your body. The calorie is just a unit of energy. So on the left-hand side, you have energy in. On the right-hand side, you have energy out. Now, energy out is all of the calories burned. This can be broken down into its components, which include resting metabolic rate, thermic effect of food, thermic effect of activity, and non-exercise activity thermogenesis, my favorite acronym. I'll link a video down below where I do a deep dive on the energy balance equation. I share some data on the natural variance that exists between different people. So now that we understand metabolism, let's create a calorie deficit. You want to lose weight? Okay, decrease energy in, increase energy out. In theory, you should start losing weight. I mean, that's what everyone on the internet says, but that is often not what happens in reality. I mean, initially, you might lose some weight, but what happens after the first week, after the first 2 weeks, when you're starting to feel low on energy, when you've been using and flexing that willpower muscle every single day? This is maybe the most important part of weight loss to understand, is that as much as yes, a calorie deficit is what you need in theory, that advice is useless. I hate when the argument online only extends as far as calorie deficit. When you see men or women in despair about their weight loss journey, saying, I'm just so inflamed, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that. And people say, well, you need to stop eating so much. Great. Thank you so much for that advice. I was not aware. That was not on my radar. I want to talk about the mindset. I want to talk about the habits and what makes a calorie deficit doable, because that's what you really need to know in order to make a change, which I feel like this is a good time to give you guys, in case you are not aware, familiar, in case you don't remember my weight loss journey, because it's been a minute. So we'll do a quick walk down memory lane. Then we'll turn things over to Jeff because his is more recent and I think a lot more interesting. So 6 years ago, we didn't actually start 6 years ago. The weight loss journey really starts with the weight gain because let's rewind.
Well, what is it that made you think you had to lose weight?
Okay, so let's rewind to before 6 years. We'll put a little sound effect. So I got into fitness more seriously in my first year of university. I was studying engineering. I felt very isolated and alone, and I really needed an outlet. So it wasn't enough for me to just get into weightlifting. I'm like, yeehaw, let's go competitive bodybuilding. We went 0 to 100 real quick. And I will always reiterate, I had a generally positive experience with the bodybuilding world. I feel very lucky for that. I made a lot of good friends that I still have today through that experience. But understanding that, I had seen my body very, very lean. I had seen myself in peak physical condition. My final competition was the September going into, I think that's right, my final year of university. That was the last time I competed. That was North Americans in Pittsburgh. Following that, I started gaining weight, and I was not weighing myself at the time because I was not exactly in a headspace to be weighing myself at that time. But the weight was coming on, and I think something you often see depicted online is that weight gain is always a healthy and a positive thing, especially when it's through the lens of women's health. And I won't deny it can absolutely be a positive thing when you're working to regulate your cycle or just get your head in a better place. I also believe second puberty is a very real thing. I would love to have an expert on to learn more and talk more about that because I don't think there's enough information online about second puberty. But for me, that weight gain was a reflection of mental health that was spiraling. I was working through complex grief. It was a side effect of something that was not good that was going on internally with me. I couldn't help it. I didn't want to be aware of it because I was struggling so much mentally. It was not a good thing. It was not healthy weight gain. It was not necessary weight gain. I had felt very healthy going through that prep. I mean, as healthy as I could be given everything else that was going on at that time of my life. And so over the course of, I don't know how many months, but let's say that final year of university, I gained probably 40 pounds. Probably, I would guess in that ballpark. Again, I wasn't weighing myself. I was not in a headspace to have my weight on my mind. But when I graduated, when I finally made it through that final year, it kind of hit me because it was summertime. I was putting on bathing suits again. I was wearing shorts and my clothes weren't fitting. It felt like overnight, which obviously it didn't happen overnight, but it felt like overnight my body had changed, which was jarring because I'd been through so much mentally to now look in the mirror and feel like it hit me all at once that I was existing in this very different body. It was a lot to process. And so as much as I was at that point very experienced on my fitness journey, I knew the basics. I knew how to count calories. I knew how to lose weight. I'd done it so many times before with bodybuilding. All of that logic just went out the window because I was terrified of what I saw. And this is not a knock on anybody who looks like my previous body. Don't do that. Don't say, "Oh, but you weren't big enough. You weren't like stop that." Really?
You're allowed to have
And
opinions of yourself.
Right. It's not a competition. You are allowed to have feelings. And at the time I think I was more so scared that I didn't notice how my body was changing. I felt so gone mentally that I don't know. I think when it hit me, I felt embarrassed because I was not consciously trying to gain weight. And I know that this is not reality, but these are the things that you think. I felt like everyone could see that baggage that I was carrying with me. And to be clear, again, the weight was not the baggage. It's everything that was going on mentally that I was not dealing with, that I felt like I couldn't deal with. And I was just desperate to get this weight off, that I just thought, okay, like let's get rid of this weight so that it's one less thing. And then maybe once I lose that weight, I'll be able to process the grief and everything that I was working through at the time. So I embarked on an extreme weight loss journey. I was doing all of the wrong things. I was burning the candle at both ends. I was cranking up the cardio, cranking up my weightlifting, working out 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. I was severely restricting calories. We don't need to go into specifics. I think we all know what we mean when we have an idea of a very restrictive diet. I was trying nutty things like juice cleanses. Jeff probably remembers my keto era when I said, Jeff, no, it's a lifestyle. Like, trust me.
I thought it was ironic.
Jeff thought I was joking. Jeff thought I was doing it ironically, and he's like, no, she's just doing it for a YouTube video. Like, no, I believed. I wanted to believe that keto was for me.
I wasn't aware at the time.
Jeff was not aware. He thought it was kind of a sarcastic thing. It was a bit. It was not a bit for me. I had, unfortunately, started my social media at this point, so it was on display for everybody. And I was trying to do it on the DL at first because I didn't want to admit I was trying to lose weight, because I thought maybe if I don't admit that I'm trying to lose weight, then people won't realize I've gained weight. Which it was just like, it was a whole thing.
You were also in the middle of the booty phase.
Right. So people
Instagram.
just thought she's just booty building, right? I was not just booty building. I was very unintentionally rapidly gaining weight. So the weight loss journey really started with the weight gain, trying to hide the weight gain, trying to eliminate the weight gain. And I spent over a year in my, I don't even want to know what you want to call that phase, my burning the candle at both ends phase. I felt terrible. I was very inflamed. I'd lose 5 pounds just to gain it right back again. I was so, there's a better term, but I was just feeling so discouraged mentally. I was so discouraged. I was so burnt out. I was in burnout cycle after burnout cycle.
Well, you were also talking about, this is in recent times you've talked about it, but at that time you were kind of having flashbacks to being a kid, where you were a bigger kid, and then you fought to lose the weight as a kid. So,
which makes it all the more difficult. And this is why I will never shy away from talking about weight loss. I will never shame anybody for wanting to lose weight. I think there is so much irony. The people that often say online that you can't talk about weight loss and admitting to intentional weight loss is a bad thing. What's a little suspicious to me is that it's often women who are naturally petite and naturally thin and have never really been in a body that's socially not attractive. Is that accurate? I will never shy away from, I will never shame someone on their weight loss journey. If anything, I just hope to extend I almost said an olive tree, an olive branch, and try to give advice that'll make it realistic and make it maintainable and healthy and happy. Because I did grow up chubby, and I observed, through being a little girl who had little girlfriends that were not big boned, as many parents like to call me, how they were treated differently. I have a mother and a sister who are both naturally petite, have never had to watch what they eat, have never really had to do much of anything to be cute and petite and socially feminine. And you do take note of those things growing up. And so that was another layer of struggling with the weight gain. There was a lot of emotional and mental baggage that came with that contributed to not being able to look at things objectively and staying in that downward spiral for over a year until I got to the real weight loss journey, which we shared more on here, the glamorous side of things, where I did end up losing about 20 pounds, maybe a little bit more than 20 pounds over the span of, I think it was like 4-ish months, which was very impressive. But that is the highlight reel that you see on social media. You did not see that struggle. You did not see me just grasping at straws for anything and struggling not just with body image, but with all of that emotional and mental baggage that came with it. So flash forward to the weight loss journey. what happened was I was burnt out. I was tired. I was so tired of everything that you do to lose weight. I was tired of weightlifting. I was tired of cardio. I was tired of calorie counting. I was exhausted. I was just done with it. So what kicked it off, I think, was, I want to say, 6 years ago, like 2018-ish. So in the new year of 2018, in February, got my ladies done. All right, we haven't talked about that in a minute. I got my ladies done. When you get your ladies done, you have to take quite a bit of time off of exercise. I really wanted to make sure, like, it's a big investment. I wanted to make sure I took the time to recover fully. I was not looking for loopholes in my recovery. So I commit, I'm like, I will take the full time off of physical activity. I'm not in a rush to get back to weightlifting. And I just said this might be a good time to reset my body, which is what ended up happening. I forget what the exact recovery was, but I know those first 2 weeks I was knocked out. I was on all the meds. I was not leaving bed. I wasn't really hungry, and I wasn't forcing myself to eat. I wasn't worried about hitting a protein target. I wasn't forcing myself to eat a bunch of fiber every day. I just kind of ate when I was hungry. I think my diet was mainly saltines and applesauce, which I'm not recommending, okay? But keep in mind, your girl, she was up in bed. She was very sleepy. That was what was...
And you'd committed to, you said, for the first time, I'm just going to walk.
I'm just going to walk. And my first walk was also a week or two after surgery, just to go get groceries. And I was not carrying anything. Jeff was very supportive. He was reaching things for me. He was carrying the bags.
I had my little rolly cart.
You had your little rolly cart trolley. So I was legitimately not working out. I was on recovery from surgery. I was eating, I guess, what you would call intuitively. I was not making any effort to eat any sort of way, and just not focusing on food, not focusing on activity made me realize, oh my gosh, like, when I'm not having to force myself to eat or think about eating constantly, this takes so much less willpower to eat less calories. It was actually mind-blowing to me how much mental bandwidth it freed up not fixating on a protein target every day. And shockingly, my muscle did not disappear overnight. It didn't even disappear after several weeks of not eating enough protein, because I think people are overdoing it. So around 12 weeks, I got back into exercise very gradually. I was doing mainly body weight, resistance band workouts. I was not doing any sort of like running or high intensity activity. I think I might have done a little bit of the seated bike, but it wasn't anything intense. It was maybe 20, 30 minutes. Just to get the blood flowing, right? Just to get things going again. And after that, we started a big summer of travel. We were traveling at least once a month, usually for a few weeks at a time. It was very exciting. And when we would travel, we'd go to the big cities. We'd do a lot of walking. I think we're seeing the common themes here. A lot of walking, not a lot of rigidity or structure around how I was eating. I wasn't being strict with my approach. I was doing my best. I was eyeballing portions. I was really just focused on living. I was really taking the emphasis off of structured training, a structured approach to dieting, and I was focusing on all of those other things that brought me joy and made me appreciate my body. Like, I really shifted to a lifestyle first approach, and I will hammer on this. You guys know I hammer on this. I believe that fitness is just a tool to live life more fully. I will be a broken record. I don't care if you're sick of hearing it. By shifting my emphasis away from my body, away from eating, away from training, and still doing those things, but doing those things to support being able to live life more fully, that was one of the best changes I could have made. It requires so much less willpower to do that. It gave me so much more energy. It freed up so much bandwidth to focus on other things. And like that really made it easier to eat less calories. A lot of people think the most effective way to create a calorie deficit is to just I want to like make a silly term here, like calorie burns maxing. Calorie burn, there's a better way to put that, but like workout.
Ever since I said screen maxing,
yeah, Jeff said screen maxing. Really, there was a stupid video that we watched about some toddlers screen maxing, and I thought it was hilarious. But a lot of people think the best way to achieve a calorie deficit is by, let's say, workout maxing or cardio maxing, burning as many calories as possible, without understanding that when you do that, everything in your body is connected. Nothing exists in isolation. And when your body observes that you are significantly increasing your physical activity, guess what? You're also going to become significantly more hungry. And I think that was a big contributing factor as to why I was having so much trouble initially on my weight loss journey because I was trying to eat a lot less. I was trying to work out a lot more. I was ravenous daily. So I might stick to my calorie deficit for a couple days at a time before just going off the deep end, getting a limited edition Target exclusive Ben & Jerry's.
With that hard shell.
Making our magic shell sundaes. Like this would happen at least once a week when I was starting my weight loss journey. It was delicious, by the way. But that was a big thing that changed. I was not pushing my body to extremes. I just felt a lot less hungry for the first time ever in my life. And hear this through the lens of someone who grew up a little bit bigger, who grew up as the kid that was going back for seconds, was eating the most at the pizza party. I forgot to eat, which was like, I just always thought I was built different. But because I wasn't being so crazy with exercise, my hunger came down and I wasn't always thinking about food. I've heard people talk about, especially with the rise of Ozempic, I think it's called like food chatter or something like that. I didn't have that. And it was crazy.
I have that.
Jeff has that. We'll come back to that. But I didn't have that. And I couldn't believe it. Like it really felt too good to be true. And I think this is part of why I got backlash on my weight loss journey, because I was just so grateful to be experiencing this thing that I was even having trouble articulating, because I just thought it was never for me. I thought that was always for those girls who were naturally skinny and it was just so effortless for them. But I was experiencing that. And I think I did get a little wacky with what I was sharing online because I was just so excited. I wanted other people to know it was possible and to know that they could do it too, and that eating less wasn't always a bad thing, if you're not hungry. And I was just having so much trouble explaining it. But that's the place that I got to. And that combination of doing less and also focusing less on food really ended up being the key for me. That was not exactly a short recap, but I would like to give the floor to Jeff to share a bit more about his weight loss and weight gain, because a very important distinction here is that my weight loss journey happened before pregnancy. I did all of this when I had a lot less responsibilities, when I had a lot more flexibility with my routine. Really just like your early and mid 20s are just, they're built different than your late 20s and early 30s. So Jeff, let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few eras of weight gain,
there's been eras.
And there's been a few eras of smaller weight loss, and then we're coming into consistent weight loss era.
Yeah, I think
finally.
we're coming.
Yeah.
Your father bod. Okay, do you want daddy? But
I'm gonna preface this. So anything I say that might sound like it could be observed as a judgment of other people, I don't care what other people do. I will judge myself. So anything you hear that sounds like it could be kind of an off comment, it's directed at me. I don't care what other people are doing.
You're also like, we both have a dark sense of humor, and you are self-deprecating. So like, just take it for what it is. Don't read between the lines. It is what it is.
I don't even know if I'll go there, but the comment is directed to me. If
he has not been social media trained.
To me.
So in 2022, this was a pivotal year for us because I found out I was 6 months pregnant. We love this story. I found out I was 6 months pregnant, but it had been a really stressful year for a lot of reasons. We were coming out of the pandemic. If you're in Canada, you know that it went on and on and on and on. Mm-hmm. I'm sure somewhere down the road, we will talk about some of the challenges we faced, but it was a very stressful time for us. Jeff lost a lot of weight through 2022. You got very small. Mm-hmm. Like you were not working out, you were not eating. Yeah. You were in your sad boy era, sad stressed boy era. So you were very lean. Probably like, because you weren't working out.
I spent the first couple months just not eating.
Just not eating. Like when Jeff gets stressed, sometimes he doesn't eat. Something that does not affect me.
Or sometimes I do eat.
Or sometimes you do eat. You know,
I don't know where I'm going to go.
So, okay, that's 2022. Found out I was pregnant.
Found out you were pregnant. And it was banquet time.
So, okay, when I found out I was 6 months pregnant, the first couple of weeks were understandably crazy because we had not been able to get all the scans. On the first scan we got, there were some worries.
It was a little nerve-wracking.
There were some worries that there could have been something not exactly right with the baby. And of course, it's a cliffhanger. They say, we'll follow up at your next appointment. Very scary, very scary. But when we confirmed that everything was good, banquet time.
I'm gonna eat.
Yeah, that was really the theme for you. You were just happy, and I think you were trying to support me through pregnancy too. Like, there's not a lot that you can do when I'm growing the baby.
Right, except kind of be there, be positive, tuck you in,
have snacks,
get you your heating pad, and then make sure that there's snacks available that you're gonna have a couple bites of, and then I'm gonna finish.
So that continued through the end of pregnancy. So that was like another 3 or 4 months of you just eating, and this is also coming off of not eating. So I'm sure there was something going on internally with you. Your hunger hormones were probably pretty yeehaw about this.
Okay, so we
have a bit more context here.
Enough of that. The thing that kicked me.
There's one more thing I want to add. During pregnancy, I would get those nighttime calf cramps. I don't know if that's a common thing, but they were really bad. Like it felt like it would come out of nowhere, and I'd wake up and feel like my calf muscle was being torn out of my body. So I'd roll out of bed, and our bed's it's pretty high off the ground. So when this happened one night,
and loudly,
and like it was really, I tried to do it quietly, but I got my big body, and so I rolled out of bed one night, and I guess I kind of hit the floor in pain, and I was trying to struggle quietly, but Jeff was concerned that I was going into labor, which he's a boy, he doesn't know. So I was like writhing in pain on the ground. I'm like, I'm fine, it's my calf. And I didn't know what to do about this, because it's also very jarring being woken up out of dead sleep to this. And so we had a weighted blanket at the time, because I had very specific needs when I was pregnant and sleeping. And it was a heavy weighted blanket. So you were trying to get very quickly, and you did some sort of this type of maneuver.
I leaned over and I went like that.
Yeah. Not good. Again, from a dead sleep.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That didn't feel good.
So we find out after the fact he's torn his rotator cuff.
Yeah.
Obviously going to put a wrench in your workout plans. So now we're no longer working out regularly.
Not working out, so it's just food.
Yeah, it's just food. Which continued right up until labor, where we had another unfortunate incident that probably furthered that injury.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no,
okay, so
yes.
This is going to sound very discouraging, but I hope that Jeff's weight loss journey gives you a more realistic lens to look at this through. This is why I say it's not a linear journey, because life happens, and life happens in embarrassing and unexpected ways. So
Abby wanted to have a toilet baby.
I was laboring very well on the toilet. I did not want to leave the toilet. When my birth team and Jeff encouraged me to leave the toilet and kneel in front of it, I was not a happy camper, okay? I said to Jeff, I will be staying in the exact forward lean position that I was in, and you're just going to have to support me. That's the way it is, all right? You want me to push out this baby? So it was like, here.
I was like...
and I was leaning my full body weight into Jeff's hand for maybe an hour and a half. Because I did not...
No,
maybe
I'd
not.
say it was about 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
Because I hadn't quite started pushing. But that was the same shoulder that Jeff had previously injured. So here we are now, furthering the injury. So we now have a baby. We have a newborn baby.
Beautiful baby.
Beautiful baby.
Well...
She was beautiful when she was first born. I think all newborns get a little ugly for about the first month after that. She was a gorgeous, sweet, angelic,
beautiful baby.
Fresh out of baby.
Then alien baby.
Then cute baby. So, newborn baby. This is our first baby. I mean, you're figuring out a lot of things.
Like eating at night while you guys are asleep.
One thing we haven't talked about much, because honestly it's just very depressing, was when we had this newborn baby. We also had 2 disabled dogs. So, we have dark sense of humor. We're laughing in hindsight. It's very not funny.
One disabled, one geriatric.
Okay, one disabled. I mean, he was deaf, and his coordination.
Yeah, he was deaf. Yeah. That's true.
So we had 2 disabled dogs, we had 2 dogs that were going through it, and then we had our sweet husky Riker, who just had no idea what was going on. So we had 3 dogs and a newborn baby, and an injured Jeff. So this is what was going on in our house. So our old dog, the golden retriever.
This is so not sexy.
Was blind, arthritic, really having trouble going up and down stairs, getting in and out of the house. But we couldn't even worry about that. Wouldn't respond to commands because he was deaf. So we couldn't worry about that because our French bulldog, our first baby, truly, I don't care what people say when they say fur mom and real mom are different. It's a real mom, all of it to me. He was our first baby. Love him dearly. Talk about him every day still. He had a spinal injury, and we had tried a lot of interventions, but it basically got to a point where he was fully immobile. He had wheels, but he was incontinent. Everything was incontinent. So Jeff was changing diapers before he was changing baby diapers. And it wasn't just changing diapers, because it had gotten to the point where his mobility was so restricted that it was really hard to keep him clean. And so he'd started getting some infections, and where his wheels would attach to his body, they would chafe, right? And it had gotten to a point where now we were doing wound care, changing diapers. As you can imagine, the area where his wheels were also unfortunately overlapped with where his diapers were. And so it was hard to keep wound sites clean. We started getting infections. There were UTIs. There are all kinds of things that come up when you have a disabled dog. And so Jeff was dealing with that while also dealing with a newborn baby, because I was just living the princess life. It was a lot. It was a lot.
It was a lot. Honestly, forgot.
You were also taking.
Thinking about the baby.
You were also taking DC to rehab. That he was taking him to go do water therapy, laser therapy. Like, Jeff's schedule was beyond busy and booked. Also trying to work, because I was not doing a lot of work.
Dude, I forgot all this.
Yeah. We intentionally don't think about it, I think. So before Christmas that year, we lost both of those dogs.
Yeah. Within like 2 weeks of each other, 10 days maybe. Yeah.
Hopefully you guys understand why I didn't post about that. I was just going through it.
Yeah, just sad.
But so for Jeff's weight loss, that happened right before Christmas. Oh, here we are, Christmas.
Yeah, well, the thing that triggered me,
Contributed.
It triggered my start of my weight loss journey was we decided we have a baby now. Let's focus on our medical.
If you guys have ever had a bod pod or 3D scan, I'm just going to warn you right now, you might think you're in shape. You might think it was just
scan is
a
rude.
little bit. You might think it's like a little 5 pounds, a little winter weight. The 3D scan will humble you real quick. That's what you're talking about, yes?
The 3D scan. Yeah, first week of January, found a PT.
Yep.
That still work with to this day.
Yep.
And he helped me get my
shoulder rehabbed
to the right way that I could start working out. So it was light working out at first, and then we started building goals and everything, and the weight came off.
Yep. You were in a great mood. He was feeling great. He was looking hot. When was the next setback? Was that February, or when was that?
No. The first week of May.
First week of May.
Yeah.
So in the spirit of getting our medical affairs in order, trying to be ready to be hands-on parents, there was a surgery that was like kind of optional, but you'd been putting off because there'd never been a right time to do it.
It'd been bothering me for a long time, and then
and it was advertised.
It was advertised
as a minor surgery with a straightforward recovery. So it was like, okay, your recovery is going to look like A, B, C, D. It's going to take about this long. I feel like they really downplayed it. And what
they said 6 weeks.
Right. And they said 6 weeks and you'll be back to working out, which for you at that stage of your journey, you felt like you'd made enough momentum that would not have been a big deal.
Yeah, I had the surgery and then I didn't leave the bed for a month, maybe more.
And the thing too that was so confusing for both of us was that every time you went in, they said, this is healing great. This is looking really good. Okay, so like, why aren't things progressing then? It was so confusing. It felt like they just went completely off script.
Yeah, it was getting depressing, and I started doing a little bit of late night Ubers.
You got into soda.
I have a friend who, very kind of him, he sent me a care package while I was in bed. And it was all things that I couldn't get here.
He sent him essentially a convenience store. He sent him a convenience store.
He sent me a convenience store. It was a giant box, and it had like multiple cases of bottles of Mountain Dew Code Red, which at the time we couldn't get in Canada.
Yeah.
And it was my favorite drink of all time, and he knew that, and so he sent it.
It's very thoughtful.
Probably 12 full bags of chips.
It kind of triggered your spiral of
cookies.
Of just going off.
Just eating in bed.
Just eating in bed and eating in secret too, which is something that is a thing for you.
Okay. For all the boys, because I think this is a boy
We've
thing.
heard this from like our other friends.
Food tastes better in secret. Bad food tastes better in secret. If there's a boy listening or a girl who has a boyfriend who
secret
think
eats,
he might
who you
do
look
this,
in the garbage and you find, okay, I didn't buy that.
ask him the question and he will answer.
I'm gonna also say, I am okay with you eating those things, and that's what I always see the wrappers, and I'm like, and you are not. I'm like, Jeff, if you want to have chips, like let's just buy chips together at the grocery store.
It's a shame
if you want
spiral.
some candy, like I can support you. I'll help. Like I'm fine with that. Like you see, I'll bake like a couple batches of cookies and keep them in the house. But you don't want that. You want the cookies that you buy and you hide in the pantry, and they're like squirreled off to some faraway corners, so I don't know that you're eating them.
They're hidden in cabinets that you can't reach.
Yes, that's literally.
But it's a shame spiral. I don't know. Those foods just, there's something about it. Makes me feel at home with my self-hatred.
Okay, we're going dark today.
Yeah. Okay. So there was that, and then things started looking up as I started to get to lift again.
To make those very long stories short, I was struggling with grief. I was going through grief, and it was one big garbage event that happened, and I gained weight. Whereas with you, I feel like it was the cumulative effect, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but of a lot of life happening. I mean, there wasn't one big event. Of course, we found out I was pregnant, and then there was accelerating into that. Then there was becoming a parent. And those are not small transitions, but then there was also the injury and not knowing about the injury, but then knowing about the injury, and then the dogs, and then the surgery. And it was just kind of thing after thing, which I know in hindsight is, I mean, like a little bit funny, because how can so many things happen in succession? But that's also...
But I don't think it's an uncommon thing for people to have things happen in succession.
I don't think it's uncommon. I mean, I love to say bad things come in threes, but sometimes they come in fours and fives and even more than that. Now, I did make a list of some habits or mindset shifts that I have made over the years. I did not make these all at once. These have been very gradual, but these are what I come back to. Jeff is going to freestyle, all right? But we'll kind of run through this because I need guides on it. Not calorie tracking, not tracking my eating was one of the most important changes that I made to be able to actually eat in line with my needs.
Well, it's because you made it the biggest focus in your life.
That was the biggest focus in my life. And so through one lens, I was letting a tracking app dictate when I should be hungry, when I should be eating. I had no awareness of my internal cues for food. I didn't know what hunger or fullness meant. I would experience them, but I didn't really register them on a decision-making level. It was just how many, carbs, protein, calories do I have left? How can I magician this into as much food as possible? Which ties into, I think, getting comfortable with hunger, which that is a learned skill, again, because food is so available. Food is everywhere, whether it's fast food, whether it's just having easy access to your pantry or kitchen and having access to snack foods where you can just constantly be nibbling. I mean, you look
it's
like you're
easy to convince yourself that as long as you're not feeling hungry, you can focus more on whatever else you're doing.
Yeah, just have a snack before you go, which is something that I, even as a parent now, I have to correct myself on, because I feel like that's conditioned into you from a young age. You don't want hunger to be a distraction. You don't want to have to worry about food later, so you eat now, but you really get into this routine of constantly eating and constantly snacking throughout the day, which, beyond just getting back in tune with my own hunger cues, has also been a phenomenal shift I've made for my gut health. Not constantly snacking gives your digestion a chance to actually do its job properly. Building off that, the whole concept of having to finish your plate, which I know for me has been ingrained from the time that I was a little kid. I was not allowed to leave the table until my plate was clean, regardless of whether I liked what we were eating, regardless of whether I was still hungry. There were many arguments over this. I was a picky eater for several years. My parents eventually gave up on fish, but I even catch myself now, because it is just so, I don't know, normal in my head. I have such an aversion to food waste, whatever that is, that I have to stop myself from telling Bean to finish her plate, because I know that conditioning or that practice of being forced to finish my plate and sit in front of food that I didn't want to eat removed me from being in tune with my body for so many years of my life and made more work for me as an adult trying to reconnect with my body. There was a post I remember seeing a bunch of years back. I didn't save it. Like, it was just a throwaway post. It wasn't even majorly viral, but the way someone put it was, it is just as wasteful to finish food that you don't want to eat as it is to put that food in the garbage.
A Western white woman wrote that because
I'm sure.
That sounds like something that you'd only hear in a place where
food is available. Yes, yeah. But we're also not going to use the argument of there are kids in Africa starving because
that's what my parents used on me
because in practicality, what are we going to do with the food? And I'm sure one of you will show up in the comments and say, well, actually, there's a program where they take the food scraps. Okay. That aside, consistently making the decision to just power through your plate without ever pausing or taking the time to check in with your body, or consciously choosing to eat beyond the point of being full, that is going to reinforce or condition that behavior, really groove that habit of overconsumption.
Oh, so this is the proverbial scraping of the plate.
Right.
Okay. We're looking long term here.
We're looking long term, but I mean, this is long term. When you're looking at, again, those stats that we mentioned, oftentimes it's not one event that leads to a lifetime of overeating. It's not one event that causes you to put on 40 pounds overnight. It's more so the accumulation or the cumulative effect of those tiny actions and decisions you make day to day. That is overconsumption. And it's because things have become so available. The food is literally right in front of you. Why wouldn't you eat it? Oh, I don't want to be wasteful. I don't want to miss the opportunity. But it's that thinking. It's those little decisions. Those are the ones that catch up with you. And having that awareness around and staying conscious of the small decisions in day-to-day life, those things that are snap decisions that you take for granted, that is a big part of what's allowed me to change my internal environment as well as external environment to maintain the lifestyle, the body, the physique, all of that, the attitudes and behaviors around food that I want to maintain. I'm going to cut us off there because this video is getting long, but one thing I've been thinking about doing, because we've had such long form videos, is maybe a series, maybe a few videos that are a bit shorter in length where we really just go through like point by point how exactly to transform in 2025. I know the end of the year is sneaking up on us, and I want you to feel like you have everything that you need to approach the new year confidently. As much as everyone likes to talk trash on New Year's resolutions, change can happen very quickly. I say when you have motivation, run with it. So if you'd be interested in that series or in a video like that, let me know, where we're just going like list style, like the exact changes I would make if I had to do it all again. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't think so. The link for AG1 will be down below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching this video, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.